Hiya, Julie.
Hi, Sally.
Right, welcome to episode 3 of the Habits for Health and Success podcast. We're on a roll now. We're on number 3 already, and we've got lots of people lined up that's going to speak as well. So hopefully people, when they're listening, will get something from these from different people, real life people. Julie, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Julie. I'm Julie Rogerson. I live in Beverley in East Yorkshire. With my, well, I live with 2 of my grown-up children. One moved out, thankfully, and yeah, I work from home. So I run a couple of businesses, but the business I'm concentrating on at the moment for developing is my life coaching and holistic services. So I'm a transformation and energy alignment life coach. Bit of a mouthful.
That sounds exciting though. So tell me, what was sort of your journey to get to this point? And you would do some other businesses as well, but what was your journey to get to this point?
Yeah, so it's been a long kind of meandering road. I can see now looking back how each thing that I've done and each journey as I've gone along has progressed on to the next thing. So I started off working in an office when I was 16, very much expected to go into office work. My mum worked in an office previously. So yeah, that was kind of a foregone conclusion. I was just going to follow mum, go into the office work. I did that for about 10 years and then decided I wanted to be a mum. I wanted to have a family and I wanted to be at home with the children. So I left the office job then. I'd kind of progressed through the office with a few different roles, ending up as sort of personal assistant to the managing director from the office junior role that I started in. So in that 10 years, I kind of moved around the company a lot. So then I had my children, and as my youngest of the 3 children was starting to grow up and go to school, I thought it's about time I should really get back out there to work. So then I was looking at what could I do to fit around the children without having to worry about childcare, because with 3 children, it's not going to be cheap. So I kind of fell into, which seems to be the pattern I get, I fell into working in a school. So I started off as a dinner lady, thought actually I quite like working with the children, trained to be a teaching assistant, then moved on to being a nursery nurse. I also worked in the office at the school as well. So again, it was kind of very much falling into the roles. One thing led to the next thing, which led to the next thing. And then I actually left to set up my own cake decorating business, because again, I'd started it as a hobby and then decided actually people were asking me, can you make me this cake? Can you make me that cake? The school was a lot of politics going on. It took the enjoyment out of it. I loved working with the children, but the rest of it was a bit stressful. So I set up as a cake decorator and had a cake decorating business. I then developed that and started teaching other people how to decorate cakes, developed an online membership school. And then suddenly out of the blue, I saw an advert on Facebook advertising Reiki attunements. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. I don't really know what it is, but it sounds fun. Kind of followed that breadcrumb, trained to be a Reiki practitioner, and then discovered a whole world of spirituality and life coaching and all the other lovely, amazing things that I've ended up doing. And that is the direction I am heading in now.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's like it is, you feel more like things just happened and led sort of the direction rather than you and going, oh well, or maybe you set out an intention, but it was quite open, so you sort of went in a direction, but you didn't really know where you was going, maybe, would you say, at first?
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, it just opportunities seemed to kind of come along, and I thought, oh, that sounds fun, that sounds interesting, I could do that. And yeah, it seems to have led me in this whole direction, and now it's opening up into all sorts of exciting opportunities, which is amazing, like speaking to you.
Well, always excited speaking to me, obviously. So obviously on the theme of habits, and you're maintaining your health along there, what sort of habits do you look back on that helped you along the way? Do you think that, especially like I think people relate to that juggling 3 kids, then you go into work, what sort of habits helped you but maybe also hindered you as well?
Yeah, so I think habits that have not necessarily healthy wise, but habits that helped me with that was a lot of organisation. I'm a very organised, practical person, as well as all the lovely spiritual stuff. But I think healthy wise, I go for daily walks with my dog. And I think that just gives me not only the physical health of the actual exercise, but also the mental side to it as well. I did for a long time find that my mind would be overworking itself while I was out with the dog. What am I going to do for tea? You know, where do I need to take this child? What's that one doing? But then when I discovered mindfulness, I managed to be able to actually empty my head a little bit and enjoy the walks and treat that as a real escape for myself, away from all the pressures and all the other stuff that I was juggling. And as well with that, I try to avoid, I try to eat healthily. I do obviously like things that are not so good for me, but I do try and avoid things like ready meals and takeaways. Obviously occasionally as a quick fix I have to do that, but I think cooking for the family, we've always done it sort of from scratch and then eating together, things like that, so we've got the time then to talk things through, and I don't feel like I'm kind of crossing them in the night, you know, like when you ships that cross in the night kind of thing. So really carving out those times to spend together as a family over meal times, I found was really, really good, because then even though I was off busy doing other things for the rest of the day, at least we all knew that we're connected together at that point.
Yeah, more so as they get older into it as well, where you're trying to like pin them down.
Yes.
It becomes a lot harder, doesn't it? I like what you said about the walking. Was this when the children was little as well, as sort of, did you find that you was doing that?
Yeah, so bless her, my dog, she is now 13, so it's been like the last 13 years I've been doing that. So they were, oh gosh, they would be probably about 7, 8 upwards at that time. So again, it did give me that chance, because even when I was working in the schools, which was lovely because I had the time then to be off with the children, I was either with my children or at work with everybody else's children, so I didn't have very much time. When I was traveling to and from work, it was literally a 5-minute journey, so I didn't have the switch off times in between sort of handing my children over until I got to other people's children, then handing their children over, and then back to my own. And so I did find that being able to take the dog out for a walk before they got up in the morning really set my mind. And then as soon as I got home from work, quickly take the dog out and go and pick the kids back up. So yeah, that really, really helped. That fresh air.
Yeah, because it's something that we talk about often is people will go out for a walk and they'll say, oh, I've gone for a walk, I've gone for a walk. That may be taking the dog, or it may be just because you want to do it and someone's told you go and walk. But it's how the purpose of when we do it and how we do it, because if you're walking but you're still thinking of everything else at the same time, you're not switching off, are you? You're not doing a mindful walk, you're not resting. It's almost like another thing on your to-do list. Oh, I've ticked that off, and then whilst you're there, you're thinking of everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a dog where the dog's quite, it drags me along. We should have sorted it years ago, but it drags me along. So when I do that walk, I go back out and do another walk where it is more calm and peaceful, because that isn't, you know, and it's sort of going and doing things that you're like, actually, I'm not present in that moment. I'm thinking about what the dog's going to do next, or do you know, or where am I going to go next? If you know, and I think it's really important, isn't it, to switch to go, I'm going for a walk, to switch off.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. I mean, I'm lucky now. My dog, obviously, with her being very old, is very ploddy and doesn't go very far. I don't have to think about her really very much. So I can, it's just kind of taking in all your surroundings and the things that I would previously have missed. I mean, I've lived where I live now for, gosh, what, nearly 30 years. And now when I go out for a mindful walk, even with the dog or without the dog, I'll spot things and I'll think, oh gosh, I never knew that was there. And it's probably been there since I lived here. But because normally, as I say, you're always in your head and you're off thinking about, oh, you know, what am I doing next? What am I doing this? Just ticking off and going through the motions of going out for a healthy walk. Yeah, it's surprising. It's opened my mind to so many things around me that I never knew were there.
Yeah. And when you was in that period of your time with the children, when at that age, was the habits, now when you look back, do you think actually that wasn't a good habit or routine habit that I was in at that point?
Yeah, probably. As I say, I used to do, obviously, juggling all the things at once and kind of not doing one thing at a time. So doing lots of things, probably not necessarily badly, but not as good as I could have been doing them. And like I said, not being present, rushing around rather than being present with the children as well, probably. Trying to cram too much in. was a very big thing for me. Still is, but I'm getting better.
What habits do you use now to try and manage that?
So I do a lot of organisation. I am a very organised person, as I say. When I put my mind to it, it does lapse sometimes. But things like blocking time out in the diary, not overbooking myself in, not trying to squeeze too many things in, so that I'm leaving some leeway and some free time in between, so that if some things do crop up, I know I'm not having to kind of juggle too much.
And what happens when you do, and have you been noticeable to do that, where you cram so much in? And
I used to, definitely, yeah. I think now that, because I write it on paper, I'm a very visual and tactile person, so the actual writing out on paper and physically blocking the time out and then crossing it off when I've done it is so therapeutic. I love a list. I've been known actually to write a to-do list and include things on it that I've already done, just so that I can cross them off.
yeah, I've done that. It just makes you feel that bit of production.
Yeah.
I've already done that. I've already done that. Let's remember that I've done that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So lists, so that I don't forget things as well, is something that I've had to be in the habit of doing, especially as I'm getting older, perimenopause and all that.
We can relate, can't we? We can relate.
Yeah. Got to have the lists. Just I used to work a lot on a weekend. Again, because I had the children, I was working, particularly when I first started my first business, because I was running a family, a full-time job, and then trying to develop a business at the same time. So I was working ridiculous hours, working all weekend and that kind of thing, which really cut into the family time as well. So now they're older, but as I say, two still live at home. It's nice to make the time now as well to spend with them. And I try as best I can to take at least one day off over the weekend, at least a Sunday.
And what about habits and time for you now? What does that look like?
So I'm starting now in the morning. I take time out for me. Whilst everybody else is rushing around getting themselves ready, I just kind of try and start my day a little bit more quietly, maybe doing a little bit of meditation, a little bit of breathing, those kinds of things. Obviously, I use the Reiki on myself, so it's quite nice. So those sort of self-care things, skincare routine, there was always so many other things to do, and I didn't take care of myself. So again, now that I've put that at the forefront in the morning, it's one of the first things I do, is just taking that few minutes out on my own to do those sorts of things before I unleash like the day that's going to unfold afterwards. So yeah, it's just taking those pockets of time, and then when I can, booking in things that bring me joy. So, like painting workshops and going on retreats and things that are just for me. I try and take time out to do that.
How did you find it initially doing that? Do you know, after you've gone from the busy lifestyle, 3 children, and then you realize that you need to do things for you, especially as the children get older, how did that make you feel? Did you jump straight into it, or did you have a bit of resistance?
Yeah, I felt a bit naughty. It was a bit like that, almost that guilt that I should be doing something productive, because I'd always done so many productive things, and every moment used to be filled. It was kind of, oh gosh, what should I be doing? And it was almost sort of looking around and thinking, well, what's going on? Possibly, I wouldn't go so strong as to say guilt, but definitely that feeling of, ooh, am I actually allowed to do this? This is a bit new, a bit unknown.
And how did you get yourself into that, actually doing it then? Did you just small steps or?
Yeah, small steps. And I think really I'm very much a practice makes perfect kind of a person. So the more I encourage myself to do it, shall we say, rather than make myself, as the more I encourage myself to do and find that I enjoy it. Like now, as soon as a retreat comes up, I'm like, yeah, they're up there. book me in. I still do need encouragement with some things. But yeah, I'm getting better. The children are really good at buying me gifts for Christmas, like vouchers for facials or sort of like self-care type of things. So that's quite nice, because then I get to enjoy those and I don't have to pay for them.
The gifts as well as the
yes.
money. So tell me about your cake business. So you sort of, what did you start to do to get you into that? What I suppose, what habits did you pick up?
So again, it's going back with that organising and making sure that I had a really good routine. and sort of overcoming barriers of getting myself out there. I was very much, well, who's going to want my cakes? I make them for the family, but that's just family. They have to say that they're nice, because otherwise mum's not going to make them again. So yeah, a lot of overcoming barriers in that way, but getting into the habit of putting myself out there so that people knew that I was doing these sorts of things. And then obviously the organisation of my weekly routine, because I was working a full-time job at the time, so I had to work out what my non-negotiables were. So taking the kids to school, actually being at work, and working around that to see what time I had left, and then planning in all the other things. So it was definitely into the habit of planning. And that's where I think, like I said earlier about my journey, one thing leading to the next thing, because I had the office and the admin background, I found that part of it really simple and really easy. So that kind of flowed the organising part. I mean, like I say, I'm mum of 3 kids, working, all the rest of it, the organising was on point.
Yeah.
It was just kind of applying it to a new thing, which was the business.
And the juggling of everything else.
And the juggling of everything else, of course, yes.
Did you at any point, I put a post out this morning on a different platform about burnout. Did you at any point start to feel of that? Did it become too much?
Yes, that was the catalyst for me leaving the actual full-time employed role. Well, probably about a year before there, I started to reduce my hours, because I could see that it was too much. I was working sort of 13-hour days, 7 days a week to fit everything in. So it was literally get up in the morning, work all day until it was time to go to bed at night, and there was no time for me then at that point. So yeah, very much I started to have to cut my hours down, and then eventually I needed to make that decision that I either left and did the business full time, or I stopped the business and carried on full time at the work. So I made the decision to take the bull by the horns and do the business, which I've never looked back from, but it was a very, very scary thing at the time.
Yeah. And what did your burnout symptoms look like when you look back at that time as you was reaching that point?
I think obviously very, very tired, but even though I was tired, I wasn't sleeping. My mind was constantly racing. I had no energy. Everything started to become a real chore. Couldn't find any enjoyment particularly much in life. I didn't, even if I had any time, I didn't have the energy or the motivation to do anything. So yeah, it was very much an existence. I was existing. I wasn't thriving or even living, really. It was just kind of that constantly on the go, a bit like a hamster on a wheel, just that constant push. Yeah, and it got to the point where I just couldn't keep going at that pace any longer, or else I think it would have I think, like I say, the warning signs were the lack of energy, lack of motivation, lack of enjoyment of anything, which really sparked it.
It's quite common that you hear that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think as women, we take a lot on board ourselves. We feel like we are the only ones that can do this, and we are the only ones that can do that. And I do find even now, I struggle sometimes to delegate things and kind of want to still do it all myself, even though the kids are grown up. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at accepting help. But yeah, very much. I think we do kind of take a lot on board.
Yeah, it's those habits which I was thinking when we was talking. What are the mental habits that you've switched and changed over that time to adapt to each job you've adapted to, but also you've come from that overwhelmed space to making a decision, which would have been scary.
Yes.
And I'm sure people can relate to that. It's that you get to that point where overwhelmed, and one of the things is that you've been in that situation for quite some time, because we don't see it at first, do we? We're just like, oh, this is me, this is what I do, I'm a busy person.
Yeah.
And it's like, what habits did you have to sort of, mindset habits, isn't it, that you have to start to kick in, or you bring in?
Yeah.
Did you notice any switches there?
Yeah, so kind of that the mentality of I don't have to do everything myself was a big one for me. Kind of trusting other people to do things. I used to think a lot that it was, I had to do this because I had the standard and I knew how to do it, and it would take me too long to tell somebody else how to do it, and then they wouldn't do it how I wanted it anyway, so I would only have to redo it. So I may as well just do it in the first place. yeah, my mindset was definitely along that route. That it's all down to me. It's all me.
Yeah, and did you think that played out in the workplace as well then? Because that's often the case, isn't it? Where you take on extra work because you're like, well, I can do that, do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I was lucky in the workplace where I was, because we worked very closely together as a team. There was 2 of us that were nurses, and we worked very closely together, so we would shoulder the burden together, I think. But yes, we took on a lot more things, I think, than would normally have been expected of us. And kind of those, you'd go in early so that you could get all the stuff done. And then that became a habit, and everybody expected us to be there at that time in the morning, even though we weren't getting paid. And it wasn't our hours. We would just take it upon ourselves. So at least I had somebody else to shoulder the burden with. But having said that, we did shoulder the burden together, and we did definitely, we took too much on.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about that, isn't it? Where we're going early, and then it becomes expected, it becomes the habit, doesn't it? And you think, what could you do with that 10-15 minutes? You could have gone out for a walk and you would have felt so much better than what you would have done. But the mindset to take that step is so big, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, very much so, very much. And then, as I say, on the way home, I would be rushing home to pick the children up, even though they were at the childminders, and I'd paid the childminder to have them. Quite often I would pass them walking to the childminders with her on the way home, and I would pick them up at the side of the road and take them home. So literally she was just walking them 10 minutes from the school, and I would see her and I think, oh, I'll go and pick the kids up because it's my job. It's my children, it's my job to look after them. And it did actually take my youngest son to say to me, Mum, one day can you just drive past and let us get to the childminder's house, because we want to play with her toys. And that was a big penny drop moment for me, to think, well, actually, it's not just me. That they can have other people look after them. So yeah, that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me, where it took kind of a 6-year-old boy to turn around to me and say, actually, Mum, can you just let us go to the childminders? Don't pick us up on the way home. Just drive past. Pretend you didn't see us. So,
oh, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're like, and we all do it, where we'll almost go over and above when actually, I was thinking of a situation sometimes where we're like, oh, I'll have to cook this for them, and I'll do that, and I'll leave that, and actually, if we just left them to their own devices, in the set, when they're older, it's more like teenagers, but to be able to cook their own tea or do something for themselves, we're making them independent. Yet we feel guilty. Oh, that's our job. But then our job also is to give them that independence, to give them that free play, to let them go to somewhere and spend the time there, or learn those habits that they can take with them. And we get so cross wires with ourselves, and cross swords of like, oh, well, I should be doing that. Where, like you say, I mean, at least it took your 6-year-old to go, just let me go, Mum, But then I suppose as well, I speak to lots of women where it's like, well, then I use that time and I clean the house. And it's like, brilliant. And I get it, because it makes us feel better. But you're still, in the end, when you reevaluate all that time, you're like, we could do something just for us for 10 minutes.
Yeah, just sit and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would feel so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
It's such a, but we're programmed, we're culturally programmed to think that, and we're coming away from it. We're slowly getting, I always used to say, when I did different things, and then I gradually I was like, oh, God, I did that. I left them to cook their own tea, and nobody died. Nobody died of food poisoning. They're still there. Do you know?
I can go away for a whole weekend now, and they're still alive when I get home. It's amazing.
Yeah. You don't have to leave them everything, and it's such extents that we go to with our habits that we get into. With it.
Very ingrained.
You say about admin habits, your little crutches, your organisation. What tips would you give to somebody for organisation, Julie? Apart from making sure the childminder that you're paying is actually going to look after the children.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing really that has worked for me is I have a weekly schedule, like a weekly planner. And it's normally I tend to do it on a Sunday, or if I haven't had time, I'll do it first thing Monday morning. Is I'll look at my actual diary and write out on each day the things that are non-negotiable. So the things that I have to do, if I've got any appointments, if I've got any meetings, you know, if one of the kids has got to go somewhere for a particular reason, like at the moment, I'm helping my son with some driving lessons. So I know on a Friday at 12 o'clock, I go and pick him up from work and we go for a drive and then he brings me back home. So things like that, that are like set in stone kind of things.
Yeah.
And then from there, I look and I say, right, well, what other things do I need to do this week? So, for example, this week I've been working on a free PDF that I'm sending out to people. So I plotted in on each day. Monday afternoon, I've got a couple of hours here, so I could do some research for it and kind of fit all the jobs in during the week, leaving a little bit of leeway time. I've learned now, not plotting in every single minute. But yeah, so it shows me at a glance then what I have to do for the rest of the week, and it gets it out of my head and onto the paper, so I'm not thinking, what have I got to do tomorrow, what have I got to do on Friday, those kinds of things. So I find it really therapeutic to get it all out of my head and onto paper. I think for me personally, to do with my learning style, the actual physically writing it down and physically crossing it off after I've done them. I know a lot of people do like digital calendars and planners, but for my learning style, I prefer pen and paper still. I'm old school. So yeah, that really works for me. I can always, if somebody gets in touch and says, can you just do whatever, I can look at my calendar and think, actually, yes, I can, or no, I can't. Because that was another really bad habit that I got into, was if anybody asked me anything, I would just agree without even knowing whether I could do it or not, and then deal with the repercussions later of, oh my gosh, now I've taken something else on, but actually I'm really busy that day already. So that has, again, that habit of having it all there at a glance, scheduling and planning everything, gives me the space then to know what I can take on and what I can't. And it almost gives me, strange as it sounds, it almost gives me the permission to say no, because I can look at my calendar and see that actually, no, there isn't any spaces on that day, so I can't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, I picked up on that, like the ability to say no,
Yeah.
or the constant ability or lack of being able to say no, or your constant habit of saying yes.
Yes.
Is a habit, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I was very much in the habit, didn't want to let anybody down. So I would agree, even if it was at detriment to myself, that it meant I had to work later into the night, or, you know, kind of sacrifice time that would have been for me. If somebody asks me, it's like, yes, of course I can do that. Yes, of course I can do that. So now I've got into the habit of, if somebody asks me, even if I can see on my scheduler that there is time to do it, I kind of stop a moment and breathe and kind of just feel into it and think, is it something that I want to do? Is it something that I am able to do, I want to do, before the word comes blurting out of my mouth like it used to?
You've been on a big journey with this. So obviously, I know now I say after, you are still doing the cakes. That is still part of your world.
Yeah.
But then you moved from the Reiki into lots of different practices. Tell me about them, and how have they further helped you cement those good habits and some of your badder habits? I hate the word good and bad, but the less productive habits, shall we say, has your practice now helped you sort of dissolve those and reinforce the other ones?
Yeah, absolutely. So it has been a lot of the work that I've done, because while I've been training with the life coaching and things, it gives you a chance to reflect on yourself and your own habits, your own kind of mindset, all these sorts of things. So as we've worked through, and like I said, the people pleasing, the saying yes when I should have said no, was very much a part of that, which I'm not perfect with it, and I still do have times where I regret saying yes afterwards. But yeah, on the whole, it's teaching me the better habits to just stop and think. I don't actually have to give you an answer this second. I can think about it for a moment, process it without having that kind of sort of knee-jerk reaction to say, oh yes, of course I will, which is where I used to be. So going through the journey of the coaching training, all these kind of practices that I've been doing has definitely helped me. And it's also helped me to see where I can help other people as well, because I recognize people that are just like me, or just like how I used to be. So it's lovely to know that I can help those. And obviously with the mindfulness, I've been able to put a lot of mindfulness practice into place myself to give me a better quality of life and to really appreciate things, and kind of get in touch with being more balanced. I was definitely one of these people that overworked, overcommitted, and really didn't look after myself properly. Whereas now through this, it's given me a better understanding of how I can actually be more balanced, without kind of letting other people down, because it's not my responsibility, if I can't do what they want me to do. So it's been very much a journey, but something that I've really enjoyed, learning all about how the mind works. And I can see myself now thinking, that's why I do that. And it's very, very eye-opening.
Has your family noticed the difference, and what have they commented?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we do have a lot of discussions, like we were saying earlier, about around the kitchen table, in an evening when we've eaten. My daughter-in-law lives with us as well at the moment, which is my youngest son's wife, and we have a lot of conversation, because she's interested in all these sorts of things as well. She's got a degree in psychology, and it's just really interesting, the way that I'm able to help my children as well, because I think when they were younger, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. So it's been really good. I've been able to help with some of the problems that they have. So I do EFT, which is like tapping. And I've been able to help my daughter overcome some things with that, to do with, she couldn't take tablets, which I thought was just her, but apparently it is quite a common thing. She couldn't swallow tablets. So we were able to work on that together, and now she can take them. So little things like that, where I've actually been able to use the things that I've learned with my own family, has been really good. And I think it sets them a really good example to see me doing things for myself and kind of bettering myself and learning new things. It kind of shows them that you don't get to be a mum and then just stop, or you don't get to 50 and then just stop and retire, that it is still a journey. And even though I think as well, it's quite good because obviously they're quite young and they're looking at it and thinking, well, this is it, this is my life. And I'm able to say, well, yeah, actually, but when I was 20, 25 or whatever, this is what I was doing, and look what I've done since, and look what I'm still doing now.
You become that role model, don't you?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, absolutely.
You can take that journey and show that journey is possible, and you started it and you went along that journey. Some of the old mindset things, you're going, actually, I'm passing this mindset idea on, that I wasn't in a great place at that point, or I was okay, but I was just surviving. I can tell you how to thrive in your 20s.
Yes.
And then look where you'll be. It's almost like the journey never stops, but you can start at any point as well, can't you? You do it.
Yes.
You
don't have to wait things to my age.
Yeah, you don't have to wait until, I always say, like, people just read loads of things where, now you hit 40, 45, and then now everybody starts changing, or all that midlife crisis and all that. I think you can change it any time. In a direction, and just go, do you know what, this isn't working for me, and off you'd sort of do something different, can't you?
You don't have to settle for whatever it is that you're doing right now. You don't have to think you're stuck, and that you can't move forward, or you can't move direction, or just have to just keep going. I think a lot of times you have that mentality of, kind of, this is my life I've made, and so this is the life I'm living. But it doesn't have to be. You can change.
Yeah, it starts inside. Inside. We do the inside first.
Yeah, absolutely. Inside out.
This body, inside out.
Yeah.
And then we're off to go, just explore.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Julie, tell me what you're doing at the minute then. What's your gorgeous business doing? Where are you at?
Yeah, so as I said, I am actually finishing doing the cakes later this year. So this is going to be my full-time business now. So I'm doing Reiki sessions, so Reiki and chakra balancing sessions on people, either at home. I've got like a little studio where I used to do the cakes. I still do the cakes, but I shut half of it off, which is going to be all redeveloped later this year into a nice spiritual sanctuary, shall we say. So I do Reiki and chakra balancing in there for lovely people, but I can also do it online as well. Life coaching, so kind of clarity, getting ideas about where you are, what you want to change in your life. We run vision board workshops to help people get clarity and see where they're going in their goals. What else do I do? EFT, so emotional freedom technique, which is tapping. which is really good for working with limiting beliefs, or like I said with my daughter, what we worked on with her, sort of like overcoming fears and changing habits, that kind of thing can be really good for that. I also run one-day retreats locally to where I am in East Yorkshire, and also a monthly, it's like a mindful creativity circle where mindfulness meets creativity, because it's all very interlinked. So we do meditations and creative activities and connect with other people, and that's something I'm really passionate about at the moment within the business. I want to create my own little community of like-minded people. I think that's why I like the retreats, because people keep coming back and you get to know each other and you go on the journey together.
Yeah.
And yeah, very big on trying to build a community of people.
Yeah, that community's having that community is part of it, isn't it? Any journey, but doesn't have to be, can be anything.
Yeah.
What do you think, or what do you feel you've still got a bad habit? What would you say your bad habit that's lingering about that you're going to work on?
So it's a horrible habit.
Not that I like to use the word bad. Negative habit, shall we say? More negative.
Yeah, something I want to change. I bite my nails, which is awful. So I'm always hiding my hands. I am able to stop doing it. I know I don't have to do it. It's not a habit that I have to have, and I can stop. And I grow lovely, beautiful nails, and I manicure them, and I have them done. And then the minute one breaks, I bite them all off again. And it's like, then I have to start again. So really, I need to get out of that. I need to do some tapping on it, I think.
Well, my thought was, yes, have you tapped on it? That was my thought. I was like, because I've tapped on all sorts. I've tapped on allergies. My eyes started watering. I couldn't stop watering. Tapped on it, stopped watering.
No, definitely. I think it's a bit anxiety and stress related probably. So I can tell if I'm taking too much on. Like I'm doing some training at the moment on top of everything else, and trying to grow one business as I'm closing the other, and there's a lot going on. So I am finding myself doing that at the moment, but I will crack it eventually. I will.
Start with the tapping.
Yes.
So is that your funny habit, or is your funny habit something else?
No, so my funny
I asked you that before, didn't I?
My funny habit is I'm very much a person, I don't like ebooks. I like a physical, actual book to hold in my hands. And every time I get a new book, I have to open it and sniff it.
You're a book sniffer.
that new book smell is, it's like the kids see me and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, when you get a new book, or if one comes through the post or whatever, and that's the first thing I do, I open it and I'm like, oh Mum, what are you doing?
I was going to say, like, what if they come through the post? Because I buy quite a lot vintage places. I don't sniff them. I dread to think, what if you sniff? I mean, I think you can smell, like, you know, and I'm with you. I like the tactileness of the book. What if it smelt bad, Julie? Would you just, it would have a bad aura about it, and that's it?
I tend to only do it with new books. I think if I got a book that was a pre-loved book, I maybe wouldn't. It's that distinctive. It's a bit like, you know, when you buy, not that I do, but if you buy a new car, or you go into a car showroom and you go in and it has that new car smell, it's that kind of thing. That I know if it's a brand new book, the first time I open it, I don't do it once I've opened it a few times because the smell goes. But yeah, it is literally just that new book smell.
Good. Not stuffy book syndrome. Not stuffy.
No, I don't. Yeah, no. Not fusty books.
Not fusty, stuffy books. No, but still got to read it. Very good information in them. Talking of books, is there any books that you think that have really helped you?
Oh gosh, I've got so many books. I think that's one of my other bad habits that I should have maybe said instead of admitting to the nail biting, was that I buy so many books and then don't have time to read them. One of the books that I've read, a couple of books, one that I've read most recently is the Miranda Hart book, which I've forgotten what it's called. Something about, I
haven't been honest with you, something like that is called.
Yeah, which I thought was really good, because it brought a lot of the learnings that I've learned over the past couple of years into a real life situation, rather than just learning from the textbooks and the training. It kind of brought it into real life. And the other one I like is it's like a mindfulness series, and it's about it's a Springer Spaniel in it. I think it's called the Enchanted Spaniel. Oh gosh, it's on my bookshelf. I can get it. Just 1 second. Or is it the Enlightened Spaniel? There it is. It's a series of 3 books. The Enlightened Spaniel a dog's quest to be a Buddhist.
Oh, right.
And again, it's because I've got a real passion for mindfulness. But sometimes you can get quite bogged down in the kind of like the science behind it and the, the spirituality behind it. Whereas this, I think as well, it appeals to me because I've got a Springer Spaniel myself, but it's told through the eyes of a Spaniel and their kind of quest to become more mindful. So again, it brings into that kind of a real life situation, even though in real life, I don't think Springer Spaniels talk to each other about mindfulness and meditation, but it just brings it into more fun. An easy read.
Different point of view. And the same with that Miranda one, the Miranda book. She talks about it in a more human way than maybe when you buy some of the development books and they take very much the science and mix it all together, which is great when you're taking yourself into practice like we do. But then I really enjoyed reading Miranda's book because it just brought it back to that real life situation and it feeling real, and that it can, your health really matters, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you've got. Successful writer, what she is, and actress and everything, underlining things can still hit you, and you still have to go through a process to, I won't give the book away, but the different practices that she got on board with and realizations, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, I think I really, as much as I do love the textbook type books because they are very factual and that's really good, it is nice to see a more light-hearted approach to it, like you say, with the real life ones. And then with these I think the Spaniel ones, they are written by the author. He does have factual books too, so he's got a mix.
He's got a mix. I was going to say it's not written by the dog, so we're
no.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you for talking to me today. And we will be sharing our podcast, obviously. Hopefully that's why people are listening to it. And just before we finish recording, Julie, how can people find you? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And I've got a website as well. So the website's really easy to find. It's just my name, julierogerson.com. So
just Google you.
Google me and you'll find all my stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.